Okay, now we're going to do the hand in some other positions that you normally run into. The first is the one that if you draw comics, when people cast spells, this one gets used a lot. That's where the hand's coming at you. Well, that was upside down. The hand's coming at you, like this type of thing. Casting a spell or whatever. One of the first things you got to do for that kind of situation is think of the palm as a block that's coming towards you. So here's the block shape of the palm. I don't usually start it this way, but this is to explain how to do it. Okay, and after you get the hang of it, this is the thumb side, by the way. So you have to think of the fingers as fitting. They've got to be able to fit into that. Okay, and this, again, I don't do it this way. I'll show you the way that I would use, but this is the constructive way to do it, meaning through construction. So that all the fingers have enough room to exist. Okay, so we're going to start with the first finger. The first finger comes out the furthest. So here it is, coming out the furthest. Its length being, again, this and then these are the other two joints that work together. Okay, the next one would be, and again on the arc, is the middle finger, which is the longest. It's got to feel like it's the longest. And it's tapered. Okay, the next one would be the ring finger, and notice they're coming downward. And again, you're always watching the arc. And the last one's going to be the pinky. That kind of drops the lowest and hangs kind of almost off the side. But still has the feel of the arc. And here's the pad of the knuckles. Okay, and here's the thumb pad. Here's where the pinky pad would be. And we'll have the thumb coming out this way. Again, it really helps to look at your own hand when you do this. And again, like the arm, this tends to line up with the inside. I don't know if you can see that. It tends to line up with the inside of the arm. Now, this is the way, like I said, the construction way of doing it. Another way of doing the same thing would be to draw, and it's actually the way I use because it's faster. You draw the general shape, and then almost like a stick figure, I block in how the fingers are going to go. Make sure this one's shorter than this one. That's one of the most common mistakes. But anyway, each one getting progressively lower. And again, the arc. But this sets it up much more quickly. And then the tapered fingers. And again, make sure they still feel like they insert. Even though you didn't draw all the construction lines and everything, you still have to get that feeling that they're sticking, that they're coming out of a palm that's leaning forward. So you have this, and again, you know, each one's coming more and more, is getting more and more articulated because they're slanting in slightly different directions. And then you've got the pinky, which should be shorter, and then its pad being folded. And you got the spell casting hand in a more direct way of doing it. And again, you can, I think this pencil's going dead. You can go back and, like, if the hand's large enough, you can embellish. You get like these wave motions on top from the knuckles. So it's like that one to that one. So that's what you kind of look for. Okay, so that's, and by the way, this one goes this way and then goes that way. It's got to feel like it completes the knuckle pad. And I mean, it is possible that, well, we'll do it just like the other one. So here's the hand, and it's a spell casting hand. Okay, so that's an example of, okay, that's an example of whatever. Hand in motion. Okay. Now, another hand that is very, very common is when it hangs by your side, which is very different than everything we've done before. When a hand hangs down at your side, or let's say the profile view, what I tend to think of it as, well, let me first say what the symbolism I think of it first, is the palm becomes almost like a gumdrop shape at first. So here's the wrist, and by the way, there's always articulation before the wrist goes into the hand. So it really looks right when you give it a little flare there. And then here's the first finger. Because now it's just hanging open. And you draw into the shape, but now you've got this, it's much easier to find where the thumb's going to be. Just as now you've got this, you can find the end of the thumb. So, you know, in a sense, you're, and then coming from behind, again, you got to think through that back here is the longest finger. And again, bear in mind, your fingers always curve inward. So, meaning, okay, I gotta do it this way. Your fingers are curving inward. So even when it's hanging, these other fingers are starting to curl more than the first finger. And again, it's articulation. Middle finger doing almost the same thing, but give it a little more articulation. And if you see the pinky, you don't usually see the pinky that easily on a total side view. Or maybe it's that you grouped the middle finger. Anyway, so here's the basic idea. And then, by the way, don't forget the bone of the thumb. If it's especially if it's a male, you want to like bring out the boniness of it. Okay, and the symbol I always think of when doing a hand in this position is a hook, like a meat hook. because that's what it kind of looks like. Again, this could be, you could kind of think of it as the other fingers curling inward. Okay, another thing is when you see the back of the hand. When the hand is kind of hanging at the side, a lot of times you'll see, and by the way, the wrist, I tend to think of the wrist area like a 2x4. It's wider this way than this way. So here's the kind of the back of the hand. We're on the thumb side. But here's the back of the hand, and it gets wider in this position. Look at your, again, use a mirror. I always look right away for the first finger, because that's the one that kind of sets the action of the piece. Then you're coming, and because there's such a curve to the hand, you'll see the second finger, which is curving more inward, and you'll see the third finger, but you usually, I'm looking at the back of my hand right now, you won't see the pinky on this type of a pose. So there's the ring finger moving in. Here's the knuckle right here, which helps you place where the thumb's going to be when you come out of that on an arc. So here's this, here's this, so you can get that thumb in there, and then you can find that bone that's equal in length to the thumb. So you've got, and by the way, that's here's the knuckle area, and then here's that little bit of the finger. So this is very stylized, but this is, a hand hanging. When you do illustration, the hands and the faces, the heads, are the most important thing to get right. Body proportion, yeah, try to get the proportions right, but you can get away with murder in the body area versus doing the hands and the head. If you look at a lot of the old master paintings, you'll see, especially like Rembrandt and Rubens and Franz Hals, you'll see like a lot of times they're wearing heavy clothing and it's all black. So the main thing you look at is the shape of the figure with the hand and the face. Okay, so that I hope covers the hand.